Well, Ty, that's just technology. That's what I always say anymore. Technology, technology, technology. Hello, fellow stall high person. Who's behind the stall high logo besides Ty?
Oh, I was muted. I was talking and I was like, what do you mean?
Yeah, yeah. Ty can't get his mic to work, so he has to type it in the chat.
Oh, okay.
I told him, I said, good thing you don't have to talk tonight.
Yes. Um,
I never did get an answer on the links. What links should we have for tonight? Anything besides horsework link?
I don't think so. I think that's it.
Okay.
Hola.
Hola.
Ty, Ty's
Long
here, but his mic don't work. So his mic don't work. So don't call on him as a speaker tonight, Kendra.
Who has a speaker? I missed that part.
I said don't call on Ty to be a speaker because his mic
Oh,
don't.
Ty, you had me worried last night, son.
Yeah.
I'm like, where's Ty? Are we live? Somebody notify him. Send him a text. Yeah, don't do that to me. Ooh.
I told him I put him on my list of reminders, so I reminded.
It rattles my central nervous system.
Hmm.
Mhm.
We can't take it anymore because Thomas already did that today.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Oh.
Kelly, I did not think ahead. Um, do you happen to have any visual examples of maybe prophecy in attunement versus out of attunement? So we can put that with the data? Or Sherry, do you have any like short videos or pictures of like before and after?
I don't, my video that I did for this session's not good, so I don't.
I just realized that I did not get the horsework to Foz.
Oh,
It's clock. So I will do that while you are running with, let's get everybody in. And then I'll do that because you've got your data to present. We got this. Go.
I'll see
yeah,
what I can do.
I'll work on visuals to go with the Daisy one.
Perfect.
So, but I think I got to get with Tessa on that because she videoed that one.
Okay.
So,
And it,
I think that would be really good just to have a visual like
mhm.
what it is before and after because I looked through Canva real quick and I saw like I think the first day, Shelley, that I was learning how to ride in attunement, and then my first day of embodied riding, and I look the same, but the horse is like drastic.
Yeah, or
Drastic.
I'll get if not the whole video, I'll get pictures for tomorrow.
Okay. And Shelley, if you
So,
can do something up and either to send them to Ty and notify him to share tonight, or I'll try to dig around. I've got to send horsework to Foz. Hey,
all right, I
Samantha,
think we're ready to go.
KS. All right, let's roll. Howdy and welcome back. It's day 3 of the Comeback Clinic. How's everybody doing? We've got 36 people on the call. Come on in, come on in, come on in. Man, I love watching your horse work. The stories that you're sharing, the personal connections, those aha moments. Who's thankful for this week and for Leanna Ray sharing her expertise with us? The brain science, the neuroscience of right, Natalie, for sure. Me, yeah, Lori. Yeah. I don't know if y'all are like me, but does this just like take the horse trailer off of your chest? Like maybe it wasn't elephant or an anvil on your chest, but it just, feels like a solid bloomer 6-horse trailer that's just been on your chest forever. Does it help take the pressure off? I love how a lot of you, I've seen in your horse work, like you're saying, like, if there's hope, I was about to quit, but now I understand it's not my fault. It's not your fault. It's not whoever's tried to help you. Everyone means well. Everybody has the best intention at heart. We honestly believe that. But we do also believe that there's been a lot of very important information missing. And for whatever reason, maybe it's just our culture. We pride ourselves on doing things the hard way. I can testify. Well, I think in that we've been talking about shame for the last 2 nights. And I want to ask Leanna, as we shift, like what's the difference between shame and fear? Do y'all know? Everyone, if it's your first night to join or you're watching on a different platform, my name is Kendra Dixon. We are with Stall High, which is an online coaching platform. We've been reaching primarily barrel racers. This clinic this week is called the Comeback Clinic. So if you've been through some kind of traumatic event, a horse wreck, an accident, a health issue, an injury, extended time away from riding horses, and you found it more challenging to come back and get your groove back, that's why we're doing this. We're very passionate about changing the history of horsemanship through education. And we totally nerd out on the brain science and the biomechanics of a great ride. And we have the technology to provide measurable results. So I'm really excited for tonight. Y'all get ready, take notes, turn off the television, get your horses fed, like sit down so you can really focus on what Leanna has to say tonight. Everyone make welcome Leanna Ray. She is our lead stride coach of neuroscience at Stall High. What does that mean? That means she's the head honcho. She and Michael Richardson. He is our lead stride coach of biomechanics.
That's so good.
People, I'm telling you, I've never met anybody like y'all in the whole horse industry, and I'm fixing to be 52 years old this year. I've been born and raised in the industry, not just as a hobby or a recreation weekend thing. This is how my family and I've made money our whole lives. This is it. And I'm blessed to know a lot of really great horsemen, very skilled, got a bunch of tricks up their sleeves. I mean, legit have done an outstanding job and have had wonderful careers in the saddle. And I love that you guys are bringing something so new to challenge us, even those of us who've been on this earth, a few decades, bringing something new to really make us pause and rethink the tradition, rethink the way it's always been done. And it's very liberating. I'm excited to see what you have for us tonight. What are the comments saying, guys? What's the difference between shame and fear? Does anybody, if you don't have shame, do you experience fear when you get on a young colt or when you're asking for speed or if your horse spooks at something? Lori says yes. All right. Is there a difference between shame and fear? Shelly, any comments coming in yet? Hi, TikTok. If you want to sign in, go to mycomebackclinic.com and you can join the Zoom so you can see Leanna on the screen.
There is comments saying hi to everybody. There's nothing about the shame and fear yet. Okay, Natalie, but I get nervous when I get on young horses. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not popping in.
Do y'all know, is there a difference between shame and fear? Leanna, take it away.
Right. So here's going to be, at the end of the day, shame and fear perceived by the brain is going to be physical threat. The brain perceives fear and shame as physical threat. So shame is going to be more often leads to feelings of helplessness and isolation. It's going to be, I am something wrong. Personal failure, like I have failed. Perceived judgments from others. And Brene Brown will say that fear and shame will walk hand in hand. because if fear left unregulated and unmet leads to shame, right?
Oh,
That's why she said they walk hand in hand.
okay.
And so we want to be able to catch that fear now so it doesn't lead to shame, because that shame can take us into that dorsal part of our nervous system, which is the collapse, the shutdown, just not wanting to be seen. Fear has more of an activation. It can be anxiety. It can be, I'm going to fight my way through this fear, right? It's I can still do something about it. Shame often goes, there's nothing more I can do about it. I give up. This is who I am. I'm a failure.
Whoa.
Right. And that's the extreme that again, it's a spectrum, but they walk hand in hand. That's why we're coming into this comeback clinic saying, if you have fear, let's address it now so it doesn't go down that path towards shame. Because again, that shame takes us into that dorsal, and our horses feel that too. It's because we have to check out. And again, so that's one of but again, let's go back to that the brain perceives both fear and shame as a physical threat. Like, let's highlight that. A physical threat. So if there's a physical threat, what am I going to do? I'm going to have to protect myself. And if I have to protect myself, I'm going to go more back into the primitive parts of my brain, or what we call the default mode network, which is located about here. And that default mode network starts to perseverate. It starts to say there's something that's a threat. If I'm in physical danger, the brain will fill in the blank. It will create a danger even if it isn't there. We've seen our horses look at a hose and go, oh my God, that's a snake.
Yeah.
Our brains actually do the same thing too.
So this is why a pep talk ain't cutting it.
Oh, yes.
Got this, girl. I
Got
believe
it.
it's nice. Like it's I get a little spike of like, well, I'm glad somebody like has enthusiasm and believes in
Right.
me. But I didn't understand that my body needed help. That I was not a failure, but I thought I was. Anybody else? Can you relate? It is your body first. If you have missed the first 2 days, the reason why we lose confidence and get stuck in a rut, as Leanna is teaching us with her expertise in relational neuroscience,
Mm-hmm.
strong emphasis and specialty in movement,
Mm-hmm.
movement of the human body and now the horse. We get stuck because we don't understand that it's more of a body problem, not a head thing.
That's
That's
right.
why TED Talks can't get you over that protective mode. It is instinctive.
Mm-hmm. It's very instinctive, and you can't talk your way out of an instinct.
And you can't go back.
And oh, and that's what I hope that people walk away with, is that once that stress hits us, or once the fear hits us,
Mhm.
or we go into that shame spiral, that we don't continue to heap on blame and go, why can't I just think my way out of this? I just need to change my attitude. My hope is after this week that you'll go, how do I need to regulate my nervous system? How can I access my right brain? Because my nervous system, my right brain needs support. See, that's the compassion piece of it, right? It's that, where can I go to receive support? Not what do I need to do differently? How do I need to be different? Because if you go to how do I need to be different when you're in the midst of fear, you're going to always come up short. Because the left brain is really geared towards, that won't work. You tried that. It's too late. I mean, that's what happens with the left brain. Whenever the right brain decides to disengage, left brain goes, yeah, you tried that. That's probably not going to work. That's going to be a waste of energy. It's kind of a Debbie Downer.
It has its time and place of value, but in
Mhm.
my KLD translation, the left brain is just a couple steps ahead of your survival mode. That little pea brain at the back, fight or
Yes,
flight.
she does her best.
We're forfeiting the whole right side, which controls the body. That still
Yes.
floors me. We're trying to change our body and the left brain, and they don't even connect. They don't even talk, guys.
No,
Right?
that's
Please
correct.
explain neuroscience in case I'm butchering that.
No, you're not. You're actually doing a great job. And I try to keep up with some of this fear. Yes, fear leads to shame. Amazing. Do not want to go past fear. Absolutely. And I love, Kalita said, this information has given me answers that I have been looking for years. See the freedom?
Hot dang.
Exactly. So it's the right brain has direct access to the body through our vagus nerve. And we're going to talk about a little bit about eyes tonight as well. And that's going to be a part of our horse work.
Mhm.
So the vagus nerve is the master connector nerve. It's called the wandering nerve because it touches our throat, it touches our heart, it touches our gut. So and we actually have three brains. We don't just have one brain, and we don't have just one diaphragm. We have several diaphragms. And we learn more about this in attunement. And we'll talk about that, why it's so important to understand that we have more than one diaphragm, why it's important to know that we have three brains. We have a brain in our gut. So we have a neural lining over our brain that's responsible for a majority production of the serotonin. It's not just our brain. The reason why I'm saying this is because I want everyone to understand the neuroscience behind this, that it's not all in your head. It's in here, right? And then we have our heart has as many neural connections. It's called neural cardiology. It's somewhat new. It's within the last 15 years. Our heart has as many neural connections as our head. So this kind of gives a lot of validation to love the Lord God with all your heart, mind, and soul. Three places have to be aligned, right? And that alignment is so key. And so we have to understand that that's why we did the body mapping exercise, because if we can get really specific, right, the specificity of things, what am I holding in my gut? What am I holding in my shoulders, right? Well, we described the feeling of it, but what if we went back and described the emotion that we think we're holding there? Boy, that tells you a story. And that's
Okay.
called emotional granularity. The more granular we can be, the easier it is for us to process, digest, and integrate our experiences. And let me tell you, when you're riding horses, we're going to continue to encounter stresses. We're going to continue to encounter that could have been a wreck. Because guess what? We have chosen to be in a relationship with a sentient being that has its own nervous system, it's kind of its own primitive reflexes as well. And that's where we have landed. And it is so rewarding and it is equally as challenging. The only sport, the only thing, um, you know, that has its own being. That's
Yeah.
really like that should blow everyone's mind and make you equally as proud as to how courageous you are as to continue on with that.
Yeah.
So with that be saying that, the vagus nerve has the direct access to your body. So it's going to help regulate your heart rate, it's going to help regulate your breathing. If we have become so stressed over a period of time, our vagal tone is affected. And how that shows up is going to be, this is why we're checking in with our body all throughout the week, is it's going to show up in how quickly our reflexes can move. If we stand on one foot and then decide to take away our visual system, does our body go, whoop, what just happened?
Yeah.
Because we have all these phrases like, I can do that with my eyes closed. Why do we think that? Because we think it's so automatic.
Yeah.
Right? And so we want to know that our nervous system, our sensory system, is the biological basis of what in the horse world we call feel. Everybody uses that word. I need to develop feel.
Come on. But how many people know how to teach it?
That's a good question. Maybe.
How many people really understand what feel entails? If
Mm-hmm.
if you don't have the privilege of riding hundreds of horses in your lifetime, how
Mm-hmm.
do you learn feel if you only own two or six or
That's
20?
right.
20
That's
compared to
right.
1,000, that's a huge learning curve right there.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And so people ask me how I got into the field of movement. And so I founded an organization called Kids Braintree. And so what happened is I began to work with like different athletic coaches, and we would talk about what would happen after brain injuries. And they were like, occupational therapists were like, until we can get coordination in the body, they're not neurologically ready to do the task at hand.
Please say that again, because you're not just
Until
talking.
they get right, until they get coordination in their body, until they can cross the midlines of their body, we can't trust that neurologically they can approach the task at hand with acuity, with efficiency, with accuracy. When the body is disjointed in any way, it's going to demonstrate that there is a disruption in the communication pattern between what's being conveyed between both the body and the brain. right? That's why, and I don't know if it's on this one or if we'll do it in attunement, it's the whenever your eyes are closed, I'm touching different body parts to see how efficient is that communication passing between the brain and body to go, you just asked for me to give you my right arm, my left leg, and I can do that quickly with efficiency. A lot of times what you'll see, especially kids who are neurodivergent or have neurodevelopmental delays, is that you'll ask for the right hand or the right arm and the left leg, and they'll give you both legs and that arm. What that tells you is that that pathway isn't very clear on how to differentiate, which means information isn't flowing very efficiently in the brain.
Okay.
That's why these kids get tired or easier. They get more fatigued during school more easily, right? Because they're having to put so much effort into the brain receiving information, organizing it, and giving it a coherent output. And this is the same for adults, by the way. By the way, one of the first signs of Parkinson's isn't a mental test or a cognitive test. It's the gait begins to change. Their walk changes. That's one of the first key signs. Their body movements change, start slowing down. The coordination patterns start changing. The way in which they coordinate changes. It's very fascinating. The body has a lot to say if we know how to listen and we know the language.
So I want to tell my personal story real quick. The first time you did that test on me, I think we laid down in the living room and you're like, "Are you ready?" I'm like, "Heck yeah, I got this." Like, I might be in my 50s, but I'm still I can still ride a horse. Okay. So I'm laying down and she says, "Close your eyes." And she said, "I'm just going to touch a body part and you just pick it up just as quick as you feel it." And so she's like, and I'm like, she goes, and then she would touch like the right leg, you know. Well, then she starts to speed up. And then she'll touch two, like she just said, at the same time. And our brain is having to process. And I'm like, what? Like, it really trips you up. And if you do not know about this, if you don't know about how to test and assess, if you don't have access to this information, you could exist and you could ride your horse completely unaware that the brain and the body are not communicating very efficiently. And we get frustrated as barrel racers with the time on the clock.
Right.
Oh, I just don't understand. I've spent like $385,000 on this horse. I didn't spend, guys, I've spent more than that on a lot of horses. But like we can get into blame and shame. Blame and shame, and not even realize that our neural pathways, our body and our brain, they aren't always on the same page.
That's correct. So it's very freeing to understand that. It's also even more freeing to understand the pathway back to regulation.
Yes.
And so that's, I'm just kind of, again, looking up some of the comments here. God, this is so great. These are such great conversations. Again, you've probably never been to a clinic where they've had these kind of conversations.
You think?
Like rider readiness. Can you cross the midline of your body easily, right? How well can you feel into all three midlines? I can probably guarantee that there's not a ton of conversations, but my hope is industry-wide that these conversations, so if you're on here and you're a trainer or you mentor other people, please take these conversations out there.
Yeah.
We need them, riders need them, horses need them. Because by the way, horses, we talk about in attunement how your horse moves and how they've also been not been allowed to really feel into the fullness of their own nervous system, right? And so when we talk about feel, our feel is going to be our vision. When we're under stress, we tend to get more in what we call ocular lock. And by the way, society has kind of trained us into that because if you think about it, like I'm here on a computer and I'm just looking right here, I got one focal point. If I'm in class, I got one focal point. I mean, it's not that I don't look around, right? If I'm driving, I look forward, I might look to the left or to the right, but I'm looking for, is there any danger, right? I sit in an office and I do this. So what we notice is that when you lose your field of vision, that's why working outside, having that field of vision actually helps us emotionally regulate and our nervous system regulate. But when we're in environments that promote that sense of like ocular lock or just focusing on a couple of, spots over time creates tension in the eyes. Well, the eyes have millions of connections to the rest of the brain. The optic nerve has a direct connection right here to the back part of our brain, where all of our primitive reflexes live. And so when that is allowed to feel fully into what we call the horizon, the capacity to look at our horizon as a whole comes from the right side of our brain. The left brain wants to get very linear and very like, what's
I think we're losing you, Leanna.
Coliseum, right? But you've got to be able to.
There you are. There you are. You're back.
Okay.
You're
Well, I left out. Okay. Yeah, it says my internet connection is unstable.
Oh no.
Huh. Can you see me?
So good. Don't leave us. Don't leave us hanging.
Okay.
So
where did I leave off?
Well, you were talking about like millions of connections from the eye to the brain and the connection to the back of our head, the back of our brain. And I think because I think everyone's really enjoying the actual activations or the pop quiz or the horse assignment. So, and then you did some stuff last night just teaching us how to be more aware of our diaphragm. Are we breathing simply in our chest, or does your belly actually move when you breathe? Mine didn't until I met Leanna, and I got coaching on that, on how to do that. So now my lungs are healthier, my central nervous system is becoming healthier and more regulated, and so are my horses. You have something planned for us tonight so that we can understand the eye connection?
Well, yes. So whenever we're looking, and I think, are we doing that test? Are we sending this for homework where we have them do the eye tracking? Is that the homework piece of it?
We've got a good horse work assignment tonight. It is so good. And I am not, you've got to be signed in. If you're watching on another platform, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, whatever, go sign in at mycomebackclinic.com. Even if you only sign up to do this pop quiz in today's horse work assignment, it is very telling. It's very telling.
It is very telling. So here's what we're going to talk about. So I'll give a quick teaching about it, and then we're going to experience it. So I want everybody to remember that we are an experience-based brain.
Okay.
We truly learn through what and how we experience, what we experience and how we experience it. So it'd be kind of like me going to a doctor, and I would look at the doctor and I'd be like, so what's your background? And he'd be like, I did great on all my classwork. A+. And I'd be like, that is great. And he'd be like, the only thing I didn't get to do was I didn't get to do my residency. And I'd be like, so you never took what you learned, and you actually haven't worked on people or did a surgery. Nope, but I have it up here. I've seen so many videos of it, and I passed all my tests about it. I would walk out. Because it doesn't matter how much book smarts that he has or she has. What matters is that were you able to take it, and then what was the experience of it? Because that's truly how we embody our learning, is through experience. And a lot of these things we talk about this week in terms of like the experiences that we've had or the experiences that we haven't had. Right? That's where our nervous system and needs support. Right? Yes. So think of it this way. We have right up through here. So I want everybody to touch this part of their head. It's kind of behind my bun.
Okay.
Kind of up there. Say again?
Do I need to take my cap off?
No, you don't. You just hold that, just kind of touch that part. You get into the general area here. This underneath here is called the default mode network. Okay? Default mode network, right, is going to be the part. This is our ruminator. This is what starts ruminating. When we get into fear, okay, you can relax now. When we get into fear, there are 3 networks that engage. Our salient, and you don't have to, you can just take this in and then listen to a replay later, because I really want everybody just to take a breath with all of this, right? Work on your breathing. If I say something and you're like, this is overwhelming, just let your exhale be longer than your inhale. And know that you can go back and listen to this. Okay. You don't have to get it all. You will get the pieces that you need, I promise. So we have 3 networks in the brain. The salience network, that's the part of our brain that's going to be like, for me, it's the scanner. It's like, okay, what matters about the situation? And if we're under stress, what matters is going to be safety. Then we have the task network in our brain that activates and goes, We got to do something. Better do something. Now, fear begins to increase whenever that part of the task network goes, and there's nothing we can do about this. Fear and anxiety goes whoop, way up. And then what takes over is what's called our default mode network. That part of the brain is the ruminator. It can also be the daydreamer, right? So it's in the midline part of our brain, kind of more towards the back. It likes to time travel into the past and the future, which can get us stuck.
I did that a lot as a kid.
Yes, we all have. So what happens with this, with the default mode network, is that what it's looking for is actually, it wants to feel the feelings, but with mindful intention. It wants to feel, but it has to have mindful spatial awareness in order for it to move out of that ruminating cycle. So what gets us out of the ruminating cycle is a few things. One, we have to take action. The taking action part is how we move our body, right? Because oftentimes when that ruminating starts, we start, it's like the people say, you start wringing your hands, or you start looking down, or you start like looking in different areas and like, what can I do? What can I do? And that anxiety starts. But the body needs to move differently. That's how we break out of the cycle, right? The taking action. We're going to do that tonight. The second thing is interoception. It's a big word, but interoception means I still have access and the capacity to scan my internal environment and understand where I am. Proprioception, I still have a felt sense of, I know where my body is in space, and notice that I'm doing this, I'm taking action. I'm reminding my body where I begin and where I end. Mm-hmm. Right? I'm not allowing that default mode network and that ruminating to just stay in my brain. I'm actually moving it through my body, through contact, right? Mm-hmm. Because touch activates so many parts of the brain, and especially self-touch. So interoception activates, and I'm going to use these words again. You don't have to get hung up on these words. I'm just giving you the neuroscience behind the wisdom of why you're about to do what you do and the impact of it. The insula acts like a circuit breaker. INSULA. It's the circuit breaker. It basically says, default mode network, stop trying to replay the past and take it into the future. So interoception, that's why interoception, we said, let's scan your body. What's going on in your body? Now, what happens after that is that we need to then move into a sense of expansion. So default mode network really likes to lean heavy on the left brain, and the left brain is very sequential. It wants to go step by step. The right brain opens up our vision to the horizon. So why is that important? The left brain wants to overfixate on the one part that isn't going quite right. So if I were to look at a tree and I just let my left brain look at a tree, my left brain would go, see that spot? It's dead. It's dying. And it's going to say, and now the whole tree is in trouble. The right brain takes the visual field, and it goes into the horizon, and it opens up and it sees that part as a whole. And it says, yes, that part might not be doing so well, but the rest of the tree is just fine. And that part of the tree is actually being cared for and nurtured by by the parts of the tree that are doing well. So it gives us perspective. But again, we can't logic our way into the right brain, guys. We have to move our way into the right brain.
Come on.
I can't logic my way into the right brain. I have to move myself into the right brain. I can't say that statement enough. Logic isn't going to help me with that. The right brain does not care about logic. The right brain goes, move, open up your field of vision, activate your proprioception. This is where I begin. This is where I end. So notice that, because we're going to do some tapping tonight, right? And we actually teach that at an advanced level for our horses as well. So we're going to, through our visual system, we can reduce the rumination activity that happens in the default mode network just by activating our visual processing, because our vision, our optic nerve, as it moves and it can take in the whole, begins to regulate this part of the brain, because it has, the optic nerve goes straight to the back part of the brain.
This is so
It's
fascinating.
so powerful. And I'm sure that 1 month during attunement, we'll offer a visual support class, right? Like some in-depth exercises to be able to help strengthen our vision and how our vision connects to our emotions and to our memory and to our sensory motor cortex, right?
Yeah.
So
Can I
that, go
interject
ahead.
something real quick? Because I was watching Taylor's horse work, Taylor
Yes.
Clump. Taylor,
Uh-huh.
are you feeding horses or kids? Did y'all watch hers? She's one of our certified coaches.
He's not on.
She talked about going to her uh, family physician. I think he's a naturopath, osteopath, something like that. And he took a picture of her eye. He was looking at her eyes. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is such a bullseye for tonight's topic. He said, your pupil is moving. Your pupil is twitching, I think is what he said. And she was
Mhm.
like, well, that's bizarre. What does that mean? And he said, it means your central nervous system is triggered. You're in fight or flight.
Mhm.
What? And we don't even know. We're just doing the best we can. We're just got our routine life. And they have 4 kids and they run a cattle operation and train horses. And I mean, sure, she has a lot going on, but we just kind of get in that mode of, my husband Chad calls it make and do, just make do. We can make do with this, we can make do. We just kind of get by, but we don't realize there's more. Or
Yes.
we want it, but we don't know how to get it or how to access it.
Yes.
This is
Well,
wild to me, that our eyes can tell us a lot about ourselves,
oh yes.
what our horses are experiencing while we're on them.
Mhm.
We
Absolutely.
recently had one of the girls has been in the hospital, so there's been some,
Oh,
a lot going on in her life.
all
Mm.
right. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Absolutely. One of the things that if I were ever emceeing a rodeo, this would be on my wish list. Not
Yeah.
that I want to MC, but I'm saying like if I could, if there was ever a horse wreck that happened in front of a large crowd,
Hmm.
one of the very first things I do right afterwards, I would tell everybody, take a deep breath in, let the exhale be longer than your inhale, soften your eyes, relax the jaw, allow your head and neck to just gently go back and forth and like side to side, very with those micro movements. Wiggle your fingers, your hands, let the shoulders gently and easily roll back and forward. Exhale all the way down to the lowest part of your diaphragm and tap both of your feet, your left foot and your right foot, and tap it just left, right, left, right, left, right. And do that with your hands also on your knees. And you can do exactly like you're crossing the midline, which is great. And you can even just do that bilateral movement. I would do that after a crowd ever experienced or watched that, because when that stuff happens, you watch if they had a video and they were taking you know, like slow motion of everybody's responses, it would be people would do this. You would see this, you'd be like, oh, right, this movement here, or shock on their face, right? That's all the cranial nerves. So how we need to meet that afterwards is the softening of all of those cranial nerves and all of the muscles and activating them in a different way so that our default mode network doesn't continue to replay what we saw.
Sherry, will you please make a note to send this replay to Bob Tallman?
Yes.
We need him in on this conversation. The legendary voice of rodeo.
Oh.
Yeah.
So and that's what we would do to help our nervous system process what we just saw.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good
And
stuff. We've
and
never
just
been coached like this. We've never been privy to information and expertise that you have. The keys that you are bringing, that you hold in your hand to unlock us as um, it's more than a community. Like, this is a culture. This is a lifestyle. This is a generational thing
right.
for most of us. A lot of us have been born
Yeah.
into the horse world, and if not, they got here as fast as they could. Am I right, everyone watching? Like, it means so much to us, and we typically can't explain why, because it is something you have to experience. Like, we're drawn to horses. So I'm so excited to be part of the movement. It's
Mhm.
even, we've called it a movement, we've called it a revolution, we've called it a crusade to bring a new style of writing, a new way of thinking, more knowledge, stall higher education to people who ride horses, whether you ride in a Western saddle, a tie-down saddle, a cutting saddle, a barrel saddle, an English saddle, dressage, no saddle, whatever it is. If you spend time with horses, this 100% is going to help you spend that time more successfully with
Yeah.
less risk of injury, physical, mental, emotional, and financial. So
Mhm.
it's who could argue with that? It doesn't matter your experience level. I'm just fascinated that this is helping us make such a difference in our own lives, in our horses, and in the horse world at large. I'm going to introduce Sherry McKenzie. She's our lead integrator. Kevin Copeland calls her the lead instigator at Stall High. Does have a phenomenal sense of humor, and I love your laugh. It makes my day every time I hear it. So, what does that mean? You came to a challenge. Let's see, August, not last August, but the one before, you came to an
Mhm.
challenge, half second faster challenge. And I was having my birthday party that week. And we have a mutual friend, Brian. And I said, yeah, everybody, if y'all want to come on out, just meet us at Oak and Eden, and we're gonna have this birthday party. And you showed up and we're like, hey, you're from the computer screen. Like, we know you. And
I took
so
you seriously.
it was so freaking cool because my sister-in-law, Lori, she's on this call too, Lori Roth in Nacogdoches. We had just been talking about how Stall High is growing and like we need help. We need to add to this team. And then the conversation just unfolded by divine Kairos timing. And you're like, well, if you ever need help, just let me know. I'm available. And we're like, we do. Administration. We need some help, girl. So I'm really excited for you to get to share your part and your passion. So you've kind of gone from, the head of administration to having a very niche passion to embrace the technology that we have the opportunity to work with. I'm going to hold up this little box. She's a doozy. So this is one of the devices that we use. Okay, we have several, and this is part of the technology. It's where the data meets the dirt. This is the proof in the pommel of the saddle, so that we can see, those of us, not myself, those of you who have an analytical brain, how many of you want to see the black and white? This is where the rubber meets the road, the data meets the dirt. It is the coolest thing ever, Leanne. So this collects data on each ride and every single stride. And if you think it doesn't matter that much to your horse, the state of your central nervous system, how balanced you are physically and emotionally, we're here to tell you it's a big damn deal to them. And especially if you have a more sensitive horse, a more fractious horse, you need to pay attention right now because we're fixing to help you out. I'm going to hand it over to you, Sherry. What you got for us?
Yeah, first of all, I sought out Stall High because I was ready to quit. I had already considered selling a trailer, and because I was so frustrated that I couldn't get my groove back. I just, for some reason, I just felt like I was stuck. And it was super frustrating that, I'd sit there and watch, and actually I'd sold the horse, and the little girl within 2 months that I sold it to was out clocking me. Well, that was eating humble pie really fast. It was like, and when they asked a test rider, I'm like, I don't think she can ride this horse. I'm thinking she's not a good enough rider. And 2 months later, she's out clocking me. And this horse just really elevated her, and she's gone on super proud of what they achieved together. But it really was humbling because I'm like, well, what's holding me back? And I fell in love, of course, with Michael and Leanna, and started opening my eyes and things that were held in my body that I didn't realize that was the core to the problem. And still working through some things, but as we started diving into the neuroscience, and say, well, do you see this on the screen? You know, the horse's strides getting longer. Do you see, what do you see? And me with the left brain and the analytical brain that I have, I'm like, well, yeah, I can see it. And that's nice, but am I seeing it because you're telling me to look for it? So suspect over here going, you know, yeah, I see it because my former trainer taught me to look for things that most trainers don't. And I would see it, but I'm like, for people that are over here watching, maybe they don't see it and they don't want to say, no, I don't want to see, I don't see it because I don't want to sound dumb. Or feel bad, you know, or you know, about myself because I don't see it. My eyes not been trained to see those types of things. And when you started telling me about that little black box, I'm like, Kendra, I want that project. And you're like, we don't have time for it. I'm like, no, I
Oh
want
my
that
God.
project. It is mine. I am taking the lead on this and diving into this thing. And it's been such a fun ride. And literally a ride. And sometimes I've also gotten frustrated that little black box that I wanted to throw it in the dirt like my sucker because it wasn't reading what I wanted it to be reading. And I had to, again, look inside and look at myself and consider. So, Ty, if you can throw up the data on this, I would love to talk you through it because I just get so excited about this when I can bring the data into what we want you to see. It's going to be it's really it's blown my socks off, and I continue to pilot this program because I believe in it. So if Ty can pop that data up on the screen for us, that would be great. Because what this little black box does is it's mounted on your girth. And so it is reading the biometrics and the movement of the horse. But, and also another humbling moment for me is my horse had an injury when he was young. And so I thought his balance was off. And so I kept trying to correct and all of that. And finally, I got so, you know, confused about it. I got off and hand ran him and recorded the data. And there was nothing wrong with his balance. Guess who was causing that? Once again, we got to look in the mirror, you know. And so since then, it measures their balance right to left and front to back. Mm-hmm. And so if your horse is having, and this what I realized is my horse was having to adapt and compensate what was going on in my body. And so if you're riding, you know, heavy to the right or heavy to the left or front or back, then your horse's job just got harder. So if we can clear those things up and get our balance where we're in sync and in rhythm without making our jobs harder, who thinks that'll take time off the clock?
Ty needs to be able to share or someone spotlight Ty.
There we go. All right. And
okay.
So sorry, the video that I took was not real clear, and it looks like my pictures didn't turn out real great either. So one thing that I love about this mare is she lets you know how she's feeling. She's very opinionated. And so Kendra on the left is riding this horse. You know, if you see anyone at a barrel race and they're warming up the horse, what are people doing? They're flexing their horse. They're trying to get their horse prepared. You know, what I was taught, go in there, flex, get them so that they're ready to come around that barrel. And so that's what she's doing. Does that horse look happy?
No.
Remember, this is opinionated, so throw it in the comments. Do you think she's happy with what Kendra's doing to her on the left side over there? And this is what we call kind of a normal, you know, normal warm-up.
Yeah.
And then on the right side,
yeah,
on the right side is Kendra riding her in attunement. What do you think?
If you don't know what attunement is, it is a brand new style of riding taught exclusively at Stall High, and it is taught by our neuroscientist, Leanna Ray, and Michael Richardson, who is our lead stride coach of biomechanics. What they know and what they collaboratively bring to this industry and bring to us is in another galaxy compared to anything we've known before about horse movement, the neuroscience of the horse, the output, the outcome, the performance, or the safety. If you don't really care about competition, but you just want to be safe and you want to have fun riding, you want to enjoy your horse more, this new style of riding is a different way to move your hips, a different way to move your arms, your legs. It engages your right brain, not just your left, so you don't get stuck. All right, Sherry, back to you. What's the difference you see between the horse on the left and the horse on the right? It's the same horse, Daisy.
Yeah, it's absolutely the same horse. And as the comments are saying, she's more relaxed. She looks calm. Do you think she's using her body properly? Or are we forcing extra pressure on those joints versus the left side? Because that's one of the goal of this device is to improve performance and reduce injuries, because we are, by balancing those horses and the other goals that we have, we're taking extra pressure off of those joints that aren't necessary. And that's what gets really exciting to me, because the horse that I just started running again, I semi-retired him for 3 years. And, it's been, it wasn't overnight. We've had to work really hard and we're coming back. But the last time, one vet visit alone, I spent $2,000 on injections on that horse. And we've injected once since he's returned to running. And that's it. And he is more powerful, more stable. He used to spook. He used to slip. He's even fallen on me, and he slipped a number of times. And so this is the differences that we're seeing. Now, Ty, can I have my data page? This is my favorite part.
Drum roll, please. Who can do a drum roll for us?
And then the data, just like on the left in the picture, as soon as he can get it up, is the numbers that correlate to when I rode. And I'm sorry that my pictures were horrible because I was videoing myself. And I'm firing the camera person. So that I don't have a picture of the two of us. But when I got on him, I got on in my old Tack. I know what I used to ride in, how I used to ride, how I was taught to, to look and see if I was centered in my saddle, and I rode, the same way that I was taught. We go in there, we get a hold of those horses, we collect them, we flex them, and those were my numbers. So, and as Ty having problems getting the screen up.
Talk to us in the chat. He just says he doesn't have it.
I had emailed it to him.
Check your email, Ty. So let me go back to something
you emailed yesterday.
Let me go back to something you just said, Sherry, while we're waiting on that.
Okay.
You said what you were taught was to make sure your belly button was centered with the saddle horn.
Yes.
Most people aren't even taught that. And if you were, did you forget it? Has that been part of your pre-ride or pre-race checklist?
Yes.
I was shocked, and Shelly Hares is on here too. Man, when I first started learning how to ride in attunement, and we went back in the files, because we've had this coaching platform for several years now, and Shelly went way back in our files, and she got a screenshot of me teaching a Zoom, and I was using not a horse, I was sitting on a saddle on a saddle stand. So it was more camera level. And she was like, oh my God, you can even see it on Zoom. Oh my God. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. I would have never noticed it before had she not screenshot it. My belt buckle was a good 1.5 inches to the left side of the saddle horn. Holy hell. What in the world? I had no idea. Because to me, I thought I was centered and I thought I was balanced, but I was not.
Yeah.
It was like,
well, if Ty can't pop it up there, I have it on my screen. I can pull it up. It was actually 2 screenshots, but I can get the first one up there. So
can I tell you part of what I love about sharing this story and having the data is because when we can receive immediate feedback, our brain is more open, because you've been on your horse and through movement is more open to receiving adjustments.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So and that is so profound, because we're looking at the neuroscience between even the timing of how we're receiving feedback. So for us to be on our horse, be able to access this information and then make adjustments within that one experience.
Yes. Huge.
Is huge versus saying, I'm going to video it. I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to maybe send it to it or look at it later today. I mean, it's not that you're not going to learn. Do not get me
Right.
wrong. But when
Yes.
when you've got those pathways open and primed to adjust within movement, you take your learning and you just quantifiably make leaps and bounds with that. So this is huge.
Oh, this is what I love, and that's why I almost get giddy about it, because I'm such a data nerd. But on the left side is the one, like I said, I got on, I checked to make sure I was centered. And so my new favorite saying is, just because you're centered doesn't mean you're balanced. And
Oh,
because I've had some issues, and who hasn't had a wreck or a fall or something, happen, as we've ridden horses, or car accidents or things like that. And so what I thought was centered and balanced, that right here, it's telling me I was 12 degrees to the right. I didn't even know the scale went that high. That's how bad I was. And again, I checked the belly button to make sure it was centered, and I wasn't too bad, because you'll see the green zones here. If we're in the green, we're good. And I also like to say, from front to back, we would like to be a little bit to the back, because our horses have more power, and that's our power zone. We'd rather be a little bit to the back than to the front on that. So that's my target range on this, but way out of balance on the right to left. And then when I shifted over to change to the bullseye saddle, changed using the posture and positioning that we're learning in our program, then I cleaned up. Again, I've still got a little bit of issue to work on my body and rebalancing and recalibrating me. What you can't see is his stride doubled.
can you blow that up so it's a little bit hard to see? Can y'all see that? Or y'all look at your screen, like blow, if you can zoom in so y'all can see those numbers. That is wild.
Because I've got it on my big screen, so I'm trying to figure out how to do that. So I don't know.
I think everybody can touch the screen. Okay.
There we go. Is that better?
Yeah, it's a lot better.
Yeah. And so what it is cutting off is the actual data. So yeah, look at the change in the balance. I mean, we didn't change a whole lot front to back. But if you look at the right to left, or the right balance, and like this is extremely out of balance. So my horse, what I didn't know, has been compensating for me. And this horse had a hip injury when he was young. So it was putting more wear and tear on that, which had already been injured, that I didn't realize. And I love this horse to death. He's got such a fun personality. Otherwise, how many people keep a horse semi-retired for 3 years that he would either spook, or, he sliced the first barrel on me. He just wasn't fun to run barrels on anymore, just because I loved this horse so much. And so I didn't want to give up on him or me. And, especially when when I came across this program, and now we're starting to run, he doesn't slice the first barrel anymore. We're starting to, shorten our times and making huge progress in right now. And what I've learned is he is super sensitive. So any amount of tension or anything going on in me, he goes into protective mode for me.
This is just wild. And please talk a little bit about the stride, because everybody else, and what we've been told for 30, 40, 50, 60 years in barrel racing, is speed them up, speed them up, speed them up.
Yes.
Like everybody's trying to do drills and speed up their feet, speed up their feet, speed up their feet. Just moving your feet up and down more doesn't improve your stride or your posture. It can actually destroy it.
Yes.
Actually make it worse. It actually puts more pressure on your horse's joints and ourselves. Any of you, does anybody in here run? Do I have any runners in here? Are you making the immediate connection between, yes, Amanda, come on. Yes, like, yeah, Kendra can put on tennis shoes and go run down the road. There's actually a story about that. One of my students years ago, I'm going to tell it real fast. We're going to go jogging down my road. And she's one of my little horse students. She was here, and we're just going along, and she's young. She's still in high school at the time. And she goes, Kendra, what are you doing? And I'm like, what do you mean? I'm jogging. And she's like, no, baby. She goes, this is jogging. Woof. And she just smoked me. And she's gone. I'm like, and so that's when I coined the term, like I was ruffling. I kind of run and shuffle. I just ruffling down the road. And she's like, that's not jogging. But there's a posture. There's a way to protect your body and your joints and your muscles when you run. Most of us have not been taught to do that, nor have we as riders been taught how to support our horse's stride, how to increase our horse's stride, not just speed up their feet. Because when we do that, we typically hollow out their back. When they elevate their head, what do most trainers do? Put a tie down on them, put a bonnet on them, put a brain chain on them, get a draw bit, tie them back, like spend more time cranking and trying to manipulate that posture. And it's a vicious cycle. It's horsemanship. That's not the truest form of horsemanship. This is like holding the couch. See, there it is.
There it is. So I don't know if you can see my little mouse moving or not, and I forgot what this translates into feet, but you can see that his stride like doubled. So if I remember correctly, I think this is about 5 feet, and I think this is close to 10 feet or 9 feet. So it almost doubled his stride, just because he wasn't having to compensate so much for me anymore. He could relax, and he could really lengthen his stride out. And his speed picked up too. So, and I love the fact that if I can lengthen his stride, how much faster do you think he's going to clock?
Come on.
When he's doubling his stride, so he has to take half as many strides to get through the barrel pattern.
Yes. This is so powerful, guys. This is how we're changing the history of horsemanship. That's how to do it. There it is. I'm telling you, it is so much fun to wake up every day and like just open the Facebook group, like see whose success story they're going to post today. We've never experienced anything like this before. I haven't seen anything like it. I don't know of any Facebook group in any industry, not just the horse industry. I don't know any Facebook group or community experiencing massive transformation like we are at Stall High. And I love how we started out. It's not just about horses. It's the whole picture. It's the whole thing. It's the mind, the body, and the spirit. Having all of it in alignment. And our word that we use, and Leanna, you can talk about attunement. You know, where did that word come from? What does it mean at its root? And how did you and Michael come to start applying that to this new riding style that you developed?
So before she does that, sorry, Leanna, I want to jump in. One last comment from me. I will tell you that from learning what I learned in attunement, it has changed me. And my husband's like, I don't know what you did in that clinic, but whatever you keep doing it, because I'm liking this renewed Sherry. So there's a husband's endorsement.
Yeah.
Now Leanna can explain.
I think all of our husbands are like, approve, do it again. Yes, it's husband approved. Even the hardest skeptic, even the most skeptic, like that's the coolest, like validation for me that I get to watch and experience is when like the hardcore cowboys come in and they're like kind of got their raised eyebrow, and then they see their wives change their horses and they change their style and they're like, what? Let me see that. What is that? Tell me a little bit more about that. Cool stuff. Leanna, where did the word attunement come from? What does it mean? Why did you and Michael decide to apply that to this new riding style?
Well, you know what? I think that's going to be a great place to start tomorrow, and we'll dive a little bit more in depth to attunement, because there's several streams that lead to that river, right? Okay. But in essence, we're renewing that sense of harmony and connection between our brain and our body. It's like, nobody would go up on a stage and take their guitar without tuning it, right? They know they attend to each string. They listen to how it harmonizes together, right? It's the same thing with our brain and our body. It's just understanding those pathways in order to get into attunement and to increase our window of tolerance through our nervous system. And by the way, we're going to also tomorrow talk about that being regulated isn't about being calm. You can actually be regulated and not feel calm. So that's something I want to talk about tomorrow. So that way, that's going to continue to free everyone from this. Oh, if I'm not calm, I'm not regulated. Not true at all. Not true at all. But I think at the end of the day, what we can say is that you don't need to try harder. You don't need to do more. We just need to do what matters.
So good. There's your mic
Right?
drop.
You don't need to try harder. You don't need to do more or be more. We just need to learn to do what matters, and what matters in terms of the care of our nervous system and our brain and our body. And once you have those tools, it frees you up in so many ways, not only between you and your horse, but in life. So it has such a tremendous impact in so many other ways, in so many other areas.
It really does. I'm so excited to be here. Are y'all excited to be here? Did you love tonight? Is this better than any clinic you've ever attended? Anything you paid for? Yes, it was great. Yes, yeah. We are pioneering something brand new. When Leanna and Michael showed up and we realized, oh, whoa, they got something we don't have, we're following them. Now you can see why. If it's your first time here, we are super excited to bring something brand new to the sport of rodeo, horsemanship, the horse industry. We are paving a new path. It is a new style of riding. It's called attunement, which we're going to learn the history of tomorrow. And for those of you who are actually part of this clinic, if you're not and you're watching somewhere on the internet, go sign in. It's free. You don't have to pay a big ticket to get in here, guys. It's free. We're doing this because we care. Go to mycomebackclinic.com. You'll get access. You'll check your email, check your text. You will get both text and email from Stall High, from the team at Stall High, and it'll give you information on how to join the Zoom. You will get the horsework link. Someone this week will win a full scholarship to our 21-day makeover class called Attunement 101. It's a so magical makeover course for your horse in 21 days. If you don't know what somatic means or somatosensory, I have a feeling you're going to tell us about that tomorrow, Leanna.
Yes.
It is very life-changing. It can be your turning point. If you feel like you've been going downhill on a real fast struggle bus with no brakes and no steering wheel, this is your turning point. It ends now. It ends today. It ends right here. So grab your horsework link. There is going to be an early sign up for those of you who want to go ahead and save your spot in that class, because live coaching classes start on Tuesday next week. You get to choose your path. You can go the DIY route. I strongly recommend choosing the middle path and get live coaching. You get to come to 2 live coaching calls per week. Plus, you get a free field trip to Michael and Leanna's masterclass. You get a free digital field trip. And let me tell you what, I just look back on that first ever experience that we had with y'all, the first masterclass in Stall High history, and I was like, we haven't known anything like this in 250 years. I think people could literally ride for 250 years and not know this. It was so it was wild. I'll never forget that day, ever. It's a true honor and a blessing to be on this journey. So I'm proud of everyone for being here. We still have 99 people on this Zoom. Don't let your friends miss out. If you know somebody who's struggling, go drag their hindquarters in here. Send mycomebackclinic.com. Tell them what's happening here. We're calling every rider up. It doesn't matter what kind of horse you ride or what kind of saddle you ride in, whether you do this as a recreation or full-time. Get your hindquarters in here, because what this lady is saying will forever change the results you get with your horse. I love y'all. Have a great night, and we'll see you tomorrow for day number 4.
Hi, everybody. Ty, end us.
All right. Thanks.